And this is part two of Global African Diaspora Should Stay in Their Adopted Home. Part two. If you have not watched part one, here's the link. Go and watch it. Thank you, everyone who watched part one, who's going to watch part two. Thank you for commenting. It's amazing to read your comments. And so, what we're going to do in this video, we're going to read some of the comments, respond, and continue. There is a sister that said, visionary leaders, entrepreneurs know where the opportunities are. If you are not one of those, stay in your adopted country. The rest of us will watch you from the motherland with a bowl of popcorn and pounded yam. Enjoy the pounded yam. It must be delicious. My background is actually an entrepreneur. I have built a business in Rwanda, Kigali since 2019, give or take. So for the last 5 years, I am building my travel business. So I am one of those entrepreneurs and the visionaries. I believe in the continent of Africa. I think, don't get me wrong, it's not to say all of us should not go back to our homeland, but not all of us are meant to be on the continent of Africa, especially us who left at a young age. And that was the premise of the first part one. I once read on a T-shirt here a long time ago, Africa is not for sissies. I remember I was walking in my adopted home in Vancouver and I saw this T-shirt that says, Africa is not for sissies. Pardon me the term, that's what the T-shirt said, not my words. And that stayed with me. That stayed with me. As much as our continent has a lot of opportunities, but again, as an entrepreneur, you have to take calculated risk. Let me clarify. What I'm I'm doing here is educating us and having conversations. So keep it on a conversation. And my belief may not be what everyone else sees, but this is based on my lived and continue to live every day experience of the continent. Enjoy the yam. Hopefully, I've responded to you. One person says, I feel better when I'm in Africa. It's not about finances only. The energy you feel in a Western environment overall just doesn't feel right. Over time, this will be noticed. Africa is a better option if you can be flexible to move to a better, peaceful country in Africa and you are happily living a simplified lifestyle. Think about it. In Western countries, we pay too much just to warm the house we live in. We lack freedom as to what we can and can't do. And there is always a possibility of racism reaching you. Plus, our social life is not in good shape in a Western setup. You know, the thing I miss the most is the sun. I remember when I returned to Africa, the sun felt good, but not just the sun, the vibe. It's the whole culture, the whole warmth, hospitality. Mind you, Kigali is changing. Where Kigali is not the Kigali I grew up in. It's becoming more westernized. People pretty much stay in their own compound. That idea that you will jump over a fence and go visit a neighbor, I think that's disappearing. This is from Kigali view, and the Western lifestyle is being imported to the continent Africa. I mean, it's been there. Even myself growing up, you watch most of my videos, you will see that some of my previous, actually, I was raised in a Western life. So I see what you are saying. However, Africa, 55 countries. So let's talk about West Africa. Imagine you are chilling in Burkina Faso, life is good, and they have their coup d'etat. I mean, thank God it was not a bloody coup d'etat, but still it's a coup d'etat. So that changes things, the whole perspective. Things change a bit. And that's the challenge that I find is stability in many places on the continent of Africa is not continuous. It could be fine for 2 years, for 10 years, for 20 years, but eventually something blows up. Like look at what's happening in the Democratic Republic of Congo. that has started while Goma has always been a war. Would you say that it's not gonna spill out and continue and reach the West? Who knows? So that is a challenge. So there are some good things you are saying. Now I have had a chance to go back and stay in Rwanda for months. Not to say that life is more stable here, but the most. In Africa, when you have a good life, you have a good life. If you don't and don't have any connections, and allow me to generalize, it could be a problem. Racism, come on, you don't deal with racism every day when you are in this part of the world. All right. Um, why are Afrocentric people still demanding civil rights in first world countries today, more specifically America? Who are the victims of systematic oppression and mass incarceration in the US? Who are the ones creating laws in Europe? Sure, classicism is present in your ancestral land, but who influenced it? Choose your battles wisely. I don't know why everything has to always go into this rationale of the tremendous challenges we face as people of color here. This is too deep, but we have to be realistic. Is life really that bad? I mean, I live in Canada. Sure, there is systemic racism, and sure, some rights are infringed upon, but 30 years I've been here, almost 27 years, and I don't think I'm the only one. My focus is on the opportunities that we can leverage here. The global African diaspora is still one of the big source of funding for businesses and livelihood in Africa. Thank you so much, everyone who commented. I appreciate that. Now, let me just talk about what I think. Africa, 55 countries, but let's look at some of the statistics. First of all, Africa has the highest unemployment rates in the world. Imagine that. And one of the biggest economy in Africa is South Africa, 28%. Imagine that, 28%. Djibouti is 26.3%. So where are we going? Where are we going to? I think we have to remember that there are people over there who can do some of the work, but they have no jobs. So if we go there, we're just adding to it. So what are you gonna do? If local people can find jobs, so the only thing is to go and create jobs. If you can achieve that, sure, but plan well. An example here is those Africans who have done well, whether it's in music, cinema, in business. Um, Idris Elba is the recent one who wants to go and build studios in Africa.